We woke up and the sky was like
apocalypse color. It was terrifying.
It was so weird. I woke up and I was thinking, well, that's got to be like 6 o'clock, in the morning. It was like 10. And so I went back to sleep, got back up at like noon, which I just don't do, I'm up, I'm working.
I know, I woke you up. I had to call you.
Yeah, it's just not a thing. And it just, the sky was lying in all kinds of fucked up ways. And then I came out and everything's, I got a 60-foot stage back here that's covered in,
it was terrifying.
It's covered in people's memories and their homes and beautiful forests and little deers, and that's it's kind of gnarly if you think about it. I mean, this state is burning from one end to the other. Oregon's getting a big bite. Washington State is on fire.
Yeah, even I know we have a lot of people affected in this shop.
That's right.
And Jesus Christ, we were just talking to Winston about it, and it's like he got moved to a shelter.
Yeah.
From his house, and all of a sudden he got moved again.
They moved him out of the shelter because the shelter became threatened.
Yeah, I would just be so crushed.
Yeah, they moved him further 30 miles out. Not 3 weeks ago, me and my chick were dealing with this down in the Monterey Bay area where the little Carmel Valley fire was creeping up. We could see it from the opposite side of the valley. And it's a super weird, lame thing to be happening. Yeah. But people are pulling together and keeping care of each other, helping each other out. I know that in the case of Winston, they were able to get, and I know this is happening in Louisiana too, where they had the 2 hurricanes come on shore.
It was all the Red Cross.
The Red Cross are just reaching out and helping people out with, housing pets and doing all kinds, putting people into hotels and all this logistical and important work. So if you guys, you get an itch and you got a couple extra bucks burning a hole in your pocket, we highly recommend you donate to the Red Cross. They do some amazing work. They're keeping care of a few of our friends that are running from this thing and trying to, fingers crossed, like with Winston, who's just over 40 feet over there working on an S6L for us. We hope he's got a home to go to. So, he's
any
over
way
here.
you guys can donate and aid in that would be very much appreciated. Hi, Pat. It's good to see you.
Yeah, well, we got a couple. We got a Patrick, who's our good friend from Switzerland, and one of our guys we work with. And highly, Pat, it's great to see you. And Pat O'Doul, thanks, buddy. We're sending that package out to you now tomorrow.
Hey, shout out to Patrick O'Rourke, by the way, too.
Yeah,
that was awesome. We got some stickers from you.
Yeah,
one of them we realized that one of them says COVID stole my festival 2020 and COVID stole my gigs 2020. We appreciate these.
In our case, it's actually both. We do festivals and gigs, and they blind stole them. Thank you, Patrick. We're sending you out a little goodie bag. I got the most wonderful girl in the world. I'm not kidding now. My Betty is.
Oh, I met her. She's a sweetheart.
She's like heavy as shit, right?
Out.
Oh, yeah, I really
to
did
deal
well.
with your shit. Oh my God.
Right, and then there's that. And then there's that part. I mean, I wasn't even talking about that, but yeah, the kind of saintliness that allows her to put up with my friggin' shenanigans. But she got the sign. That was her deal. She's in business, and she does this in her private business that she owns, and so she knows about kind of branding and getting swag in the house. She got us pens. We got pens. My face is on a pin. What the hell?
Finney's got them for you now.
And we got cups. Look at that. We got cups. And then we got business cards. I even put his name on a business card. I made up a title. I don't know. I put something about, it was too naughty to.
Side shoes or something.
Yeah. I put albatross, co-albatross. We got comment cards. I've been writing on the little blue and pink and whatever cards. Now I got my face everywhere. This is basically an extreme exercise in narcissism that's
really
happening right here, right now.
You're really pushing it.
Yeah. I'd like him to do an extreme close-up, but he won't do it, because I've asked him over and over.
See, he zoomed in on your gut. He knew.
Yeah. So, we're doing some weird shit in here, and a lot of it's because my Betty's thinks outside the box, and it's super sweet of her. We love you. Thank you, honey.
What's going on with your AW users group?
Oh, okay. So, like I mentioned before, I'm an administrator for the Backstage Pass, 6,000 guys in that one. It's a really tight kind of group. We keep to the core real workers.
They're all focused specific in the industry.
They're working and retired badass roadie types. Then we got Death by Loadout, which is, it's more touristy, and we got a bunch of roadies, a bunch of our people in there too, but some of the Klingons, a little kicking around the service. So that got that one up to 14 grand. But we got this kind of a service site from one of our favorite vendors. You may be able to tell we have a love affair with EAW. We use many vendors, amazing gear. EAW happens to be one that I'm good friends with the people that run that and love this gear. So we're sitting in front of 24 EAW Anyas.
Yeah, it may or may not be a shout out to Bernie at all.
No, because his head's big enough. But that's the Bernie Broderick gear, and Tom Petty's rig actually behind us. So we wanted to mention a really good little group called EAW Users Group. It's an open group on Facebook. And if you're down with the EAW products and the EAW way of doing things, you might jump over there and check it out. It's a cool little page. It's got some great shots of some applications of their gear, and they're a hell of a company and one of America's finest. Enough said. Shoot over there if you're still inclined.
Know what else we got going that we didn't mention?
Right, remind me.
We got the Lovers and Strangers stuff dropping on Sunday.
That's where I was going to skip right by it. Not on purpose, but just spun. Well, it's a
big deal. We've been working on this for a while.
Yes, we have put a lot of hours, particularly, Michael Brown, to be fair. Michael Brown, our director, our co-executive producer, really spent, I want to say, 80 hours on this thing, clipping it down from, I think it was like 29 incredible songs into a viewable live project that took place in this very space, and we threw in a drum riser and all the bells and whistles. And it turned out phenomenal. And I think they're doing something coming up Sunday at 8 a.m. for the international broadcast and 1 p.m.
Yep, you got it.
For the kind of national broadcast.
If you guys want to check it out, it's on Stage It. You just have to create an account. It's give what you can. I think the tickets are up there for like $3.50. So whatever you can give would be greatly appreciated.
It's worth it too. They really did. They're a heck of a fun band. Great guys, good friends, love them, and they did a great job. And I think we were able to capture it really well in the space that we've built here. And I think you guys will enjoy the ride. It'd be a good investment in your time. We sure hope you tune into it. As usual, we're always trying to get some interesting people in here. The goal of the show is to reach out to kind of have guests on that, or you've seen we've had some of the top videographers, definitely a lot of top badass audio guys, lighting guys, staging guys. We've got wardrobe people coming up to be on the show and talk about their craft and what that discipline in our business. We've got the world's best caterer coming. I know it sounds a little odd, but this guy's a badass. Steve is he's
I love that guy.
Man, and the food, really.
Right. The burritos once a week have been.
Yeah, he rolls in and hooks us up every so often in our production meetings and hangs out with us, and he's just a hell of a guy. He's got an account down the way, some corporate thing he dials them in, some rich people thing. But regardless, so of course what I'm trying to say is the goal of this show is to reach out to people that have a vast array of knowledge in the game, and some of us have spread our knowledge over many of the different kind of lanes that are in the audio part of this. And tonight's guest is a great example of that. He was born in LA and he later moved to Peru, I think when he was 5. He's got family down there, very musical family. He got into the game early on. He's since worked for some of the biggest, on either side. He's equally comfortable on the monitors or in front of house. He's worked with Christina Aguilera, Gwen Stefani, let's see, Enrique, both the Iglesias, is Enrique and Julio, which are, these guys put ass. Brother?
How's it going, man?
Oh, buddy.
Thank you for inviting me and being here. It's awesome.
It really is our pleasure. Really, your resume reads like a who's who of the pop music world. It's impressive. It's fun. And we, again, trying to cover some bases here, Eddie. We reached out to you because you're in a special case. You occupy this kind of special lane. And we'll get into it. Again, I mentioned that you were born in LA and you moved off to Peru. Yep. Talk to us about your musical family. I know music comes natural to you.
It does. It's in our veins, as they say. My grandma on my dad's side, my dad, my cousins, everybody on our dad's side are in music,
Yes.
My brother, my cousin bass players, my other brother's a drummer, producer, engineer here also in the Bay Area. So it was very natural to me to do that, and I had access to a lot of the equipment and to the art of mixing because my dad was also the owner of a like a nightclub restaurant that has shows with usually 5 different artists a night.
Wow.
One of the things that I noticed that I'm kind of persistent and maybe a little too confident, but the guy who was doing it at the time there, and I was like maybe 14 or so,
Okay.
he was like, it was always feeding back when he was doing it, and I would just go in and say, hey, excuse me, let me try something.
Sure.
And this is just out of me reading books that I would always buy from here from the States, reading books about sound and stuff. And I would go try things and I will get rid of it. And my dad will notice and the employees will notice, oh, when Eddie's doing it, there's no feedback. Like it just works.
Right.
And of course there was feedback because our speakers were set up behind the stage and like, or pointing at the stage.
Sure.
It was not the proper setup.
Sure.
But nevertheless, I got rid of it and people started noticing. And I really discovered that passion of really doing this. And it came naturally. I was very fortunate. And I had access to the equipment. You know?
Yeah.
My dad had a 4-track and things, so I would always record him and learn and do things like that. Or
Sounds very organic.
it was. And,
like you said, naturally.
Very, very lucky to be able to be around it, surrounded by it.
Yeah, my brother and myself grew up very luckily in a very, very musical household, and that led to us being really interested in music, and later, going to shows and staying too long and ended up pushing gear, and it's a very similar thing. I know that you, and you're going to have to help me with the name, but in 2001, you were a part of a band that won an ASCAP for Best Independent Group called?
Orisha.
Orisha. Talk to me about that. What was that?
When I moved to the Bay Area, I was, my brother was here already, my cousin, and they got together with this guy named Rowan Jimenez, who was the leader of the band Orisha at the time, Latin rock kind of vibe, alternative rock, if you will. And I started mixing the band first. So I was mixing the band from the house and just, doing that part of the job. And then next thing you know, they go, hey, we want to add this keyboard sound, but we don't have means to play a track. Can you play them from front of the house? I'm like, sure. So I set up a keyboard and I will play a song on keyboards.
That's fun.
And they will play along, of course. And then next thing you know, they added another song to play keyboards. And before you know it, I had a microphone. I was playing hand percussion and triggering samples and things like that. And at some point they go, you should just join us on stage now. Like you can't be out there anymore,
Yeah.
So I became a member and we played for many years, and we were fortunate to get that award, and we released a few albums that did pretty good, and it was a fun time. But my passion was always in mixing. I was always doing gigs and traveling and coming back, playing the gigs with the band, and then going somewhere and mixing. And even though I enjoy playing, my passion was always mixing.
Yeah.
At the end of the day,
I totally understand.
But I did mix all the demos and up to the point that I left, I was mixing all the demos and records that we ever released. So that was kind of also helpful for me to be where I am at now.
Yeah, it sounds like another very natural segue to be where you're sitting now.
Yeah.
With kind of an amazing guy to come
it
from.
came from there too. Rowan, this amazing singer from Venezuela who was the leader of the band. When I was mixing at the time for them, we were playing all these really shitty bars, for not to call it anything else, and that their equipment wasn't working or this and that, and I will somehow make it work, somehow make it sound decent, even if they only had 1 or 2 microphones. And I will manage to make it work.
Yeah.
They start getting compliments. The owner of the venues will be like, man, our equipment never sounded as good. And sometimes I would get the gig at the club too, which was great because at the time I didn't work full time doing this. And so it was really good. And then he kept saying, man, I don't know how you did it. It's almost like you did some kind of brujeria, some kind of wizardry or whatever.
Yeah.
Witchcraft or whatever in English. So he started calling me that. And then during that same time, there was a big wave of rock and Spanish bands. Besides us, there were many that came up from the Bay Area. And I started producing their albums and mixing their albums. And they were always, because they knew me as that, they started putting all the credits always, mixed by Eddie El Brujo Caipo. And it just caught on. I guess people from that point forward just associated that with me somehow. I didn't give myself that name, but somehow
it's a good name to have.
Stick. Yeah, it stuck, and it's kind of cool.
It's a good name to have. It reminds me of our friend, was it the Mixing Wizard?
Sound Wizard.
The Sound Wizard. We have a friend named that has a company called the Sound Wizard, and every so often I got to bust his balls about it because it's.
Now in Spanish, call him a brujo.
Brujo.
Yeah, and it was nice because Rowan, sadly he passed away in December, but he was a very energetic, always very in touch with nature and things like that. So the fact that he gave me that name kind of meant a lot, and I kept it at this point because most people know me as such. So
Sure.
why not?
It's a good nickname. Yeah, it's
bad.
rare. Everybody here gets nicknames. I'm usually the guy who issues them, and they're not always so flattering.
I know.
And so you did good.
You would think they would call me Eddie the Prick Caipo or something, but no.
If they could, they would. Definitely for me, I'll tell you what. I know you did some, you've done some, we'll get into it in a second here, but I just want to do this one little jump, this last little jump before we get into the rock and roll. Signcast work. When we'll dig around in that. X Factor, I'm talking about.
Well, it's mostly, talking about the broadcast part, it was mostly when I was with the artists, on those particular shows, I had the opportunity to do that and work with them through the broadcast. Even up to recently when we were in Vegas with Gwen and her residency, I did the broadcast mix for Gwen for Jimmy Kimmel. And so whenever that artist presented me the opportunity, then that's what I did with TV, and I've done all of them, with Enrique, we've done, the Grammys, and we've done, Dancing with the Stars and all those type of shows.
Sure. Well, you mentioned both of those artists, Enrique Iglesias and Gwen Stefani. And if I'm not mistaken, like you were supposed to be out, our co-host was supposed to be out with Lana Del Rey. And I think South America, we were going to send you down. South America, was that right?
South America.
Yeah, we had you on booked on that. You should have been just wrapping up with Gwen going into rehearsals with Enrique to finish out the year. You were going to be booked all year this year. Your schedule was packed with pop show after pop. I mean, really big.
Yeah, this year was going to be a very busy year.
Enrique can go to places and put 80,000 people on seats, right? I mean, he does some
we play
big fucking
stadiums
shows.
and arenas worldwide.
I don't know if the whole audience gets that, but Enrique puts asses in seats. His following is really
some
loyal.
Remote places sometimes, where you wouldn't think sometimes that there's an audience to even come see you, but they're always sold out and
he does really well.
Yeah,
he does. And his dad, and I know you've worked with his dad.
Yes.
And
so for Enrique, I did monitors. For Julio, I did front of house.
Yeah,
and he also sells out places.
He kills it.
Now.
No, he murders it. His crowd is ridiculous. My mother, I count my mother amongst fans of his, and they just love him.
For the last 8 years, he's great to work with, and like I said, the shows are pretty big and elaborated, but they're fun. His music is fun, so it makes him as a breed.
That's right. That's exactly right. Talk to us about. I think you did. You were monitors with Christina Aguilera.
I did monitors with Christina. Yes.
How is it like working with her? I know it's a very. There's a lot of stage stuff, a lot of dancing, and
there's dancers. The band is smoking, and of course she's amazing. You know,
she's a belter.
She's I mean,
she can sing that one.
It's funny how that works. I mean, you hear of course on recordings and.
It's a little
you think,
tiny
wow,
thing.
That's amazing. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she's
tiny,
like that big,
And then what comes out is pretty impressive. She can be right here, and it sounds like she's right here on the mic. It's so powerful,
Yeah.
And she knows, she's one of those artists that is very demanding, and she knows what she wants. And
yeah, it must have been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So when you do a show like the X Factor or Dancing with the Stars, I know you've done that one. Is it the challenges many and multi-different than doing live shows? What would you take away from
Well, first of all,
both?
you're on their timeline. You know? Just like when when working like this show, for instance, this resembles a lot of those productions that they do on big networks.
Right.
It's just their timeline. You're on their schedule. You do whatever they want. How they do it. There's a lot of waiting. And then it's very different in that sense.
Yeah.
It's not like a steady stream of things that are happening, just audio related, because there's so many things,
All the different disciplines out of line up and kind of shake hands
and of course
come together.
You got monitors, you got a small front of house there, sometimes usually for the audience, and then of course broadcast and for the most part, a lot of those shows, they're not always 100% live. They do usually, sometimes track 2 live vocals or depending on what the production demand is,
Right.
But it's also pretty cool because you learn a different way of working. You know, you learn that what we do live in concerts is not the one and only way.
That's correct.
You know, you always pick up something from somewhere. You know, you can go do a club, do a corporate at a club. You're going to learn something from those. Just learning from everywhere you can, and being able to do those TV shows and having access to see all of that and how they work with all the studio stuff and the cameras and the lights and how they work as a team. That'll help us. You know, it always helps us to be better at what we do in our department. You know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's nothing like getting the game up. You know, getting your skills up by stepping into different arenas and you know, feeling it out and borrowing.
Of course.
As we
you know,
do.
and never. You know, I've always never been afraid of asking questions. You know.
Yeah.
Always ask. If you don't know something, none of us are born knowing everything, so we just gotta ask. You know, I don't know how to do that, or how did you do that? And most of the time, people are very courteous and nice. And, oh, this is how I did it. Check it out.
Sure.
They get excited too.
It's all the different disciplines. This is the grumpy bunch. I get a lot of crap on my page about that, on my pages, but I think it's somewhat of a stereotype because there's
some videos of like grumpy club engineers. Have you seen those?
Yeah. I think there's it's a whole subgroup. But there's a friend of mine's got a group called Grumpy Roadies. It's, you know, it's just a thing. Sometimes you'd be out there with trench foot after 40 days on the road and, you know, dysentery and I'd be a little tired and a little grumpy. I know you were out with Steve and his boys in Smash Mouth.
Yes, sir.
Spending time doing their gig for quite some time. Talk to me
Yeah,
about
I
Smash
did.
Mouth. They're a lot of fun.
I will say maybe about 9 years with them or something
Wow.
like that. But, you know, there was a moment where I was doing other stuff and then I would come back. And with them was a great experience because I started with them on monitors. And then later on when we lost our front of house engineer and we were traveling without one, and we did it for a while using local people, at some point I said, look, you know, I'm normally a front of house engineer. I'm just happy to be doing monitors with you. And I would love to just let me go do front of house because your music, you know, produced by Eric Valentine, like is so good.
Yeah, that's really good, man.
That I feel that the local people are not necessarily gonna know your music because they're not traveling with us, and they're not gonna know what this, you know, the nuances are. And I think in all the effects and this and that. So let me try it, you know. And I tried it, and they loved it, and so I moved to front of house. So then at that point, I was doing both. I was setting up monitors and then going to front of house and leaving someone local to run their monitors.
Right.
So I did that for a while. So it's sort of a very family-oriented kind of band, kind of operation, I will say. It's a little smaller, but it's pretty cool. The music is super entertaining. They still do fairly big shows and festivals.
That's right, yeah.
But I pretty much done every position with them. You know, monitor, front of house, production, tour manager. I even used to play percussion, electronic percussion, live with them from the monitor board. So that was fun. I always liked multitasking, so that was kind of a little bit of a challenge, but it was fun.
Yeah, sure.
And just because I just wanted one more challenge, I added a headset on top of my in-ears, and I was calling spots and lights just for fun. But it was we did it out of necessity in a way because there were moments where we would travel places where we didn't have all the departments covered. Then I was able to step in. I'm the type of guy who I don't just look at my position. If I can help the next position a little bit, I will try. You know, if it's something that I know, you know, or friends of mine who are doing backline, they maybe I know how to use a pedal board and they haven't used it yet. Oh, check it out, check this thing out, whatever. So I try to help out whenever I can. But so that kind of happened a little by little. I started piling up my duties. Yes.
Did you ever work with Patrick?
I did. I met Patrick through our drummer Randy, and you know, I introduced him to the band. It's interesting. He just came from Australia, I think, at that time, and I said to him, why don't you babysit the console monitors while I'm doing front of house? That way you get familiar, they get familiar with you, and see what happens. You know.
Sure.
And yeah, and that thing took its course, and we did a few more shows, and then, you know, I had to be able to do something else, and I put him in there, and it worked out. And then I came back, and then eventually, you know, I left, and he had the gig. So he was with him for a few years as well. We did the Under the Sun tour, which was with Sugar Ray and Jim Blossoms, and I got to work with them too because of that as well. We did even during that tour we did TV shows. So I mixed broadcast for Jim Blossoms on that occasion as well because of that. So it's almost like it's all connected one way or the other, you know. And that tour was pretty cool because it was all like '90s bands. Vertical Horizon was there too, so
Yeah.
and that all came, you know, at that time where I met Patrick. So yeah, I don't think he works with them anymore, but he did for a little while.
Yeah, small world.
It is. I mean, we're all gonna bump into someone that we know at some point.
Absolutely, absolutely. I actually think that, and I could be wrong with it, I'm pretty sure I'm not. I think Chopper Kovich, our good friend Chopper Kovich, is working with Smash Mouth now with Scott Perlman, and they just recently did a pass through, I want to say in the last month or so.
Really?
With they also went to Sturgis and worked the big stage at Sturgis out at Woody's place on the Buffalo Chip. But went to, I think, New Zealand and did Smash Mouth.
Yeah,
and,
they're great. I mean,
everybody I've ever known associated with them, being there, a San Jose band, has always been top notch. Really bring the good game.
Yeah, and their music is awesome. And
Yeah,
it's
they're
fun.
great.
And
They're
it's
fun.
so well produced.
That's that's what I would call it. I would say it's one of those fun bands.
Yeah.
I just
I always
remember doing them on a boat one day, and Pat was the only tech or audio engineer that came out with them. And I set up his X32, and my buddy that was helping me brings up the Shrek for some reason, and he just starts laughing, going off on this whole thing. I'm just like, man, it must be nice to have, such an establishment of money in place, but also have all these other tie-ins with movies and everything else. It's
they did pretty good with that stuff. They also had I think songs on like a movie with Vin Diesel.
That's the jackpot right there. That's really doing.
But it's also the writer. I mean, Greg Camp is the original guitar player. He's an amazing songwriter.
Yeah.
Now he's doing soundtracks in LA and stuff like that.
Sure.
For TV shows and movies. But
I used to work with Urbano too, Michael Urbano, years ago.
Good friend of mine. Yeah.
Studio. Well, I think it was Jingletown Studios at the time, just after it became after 880. Its transformation. Right. And I had no idea. I met the guy several times, recorded his drums, killer guy. Never knew he was part of Smash Mouth until one day he brings it up. I'm like, okay, that's why you're knocking it out of the park.
He's a great drummer and like just a great guy too. Yeah.
A very talented man for sure. I know you dabbled a little bit, and again, because I want to point out that there's many ways to skin a cat. Yeah, there's a little bit of everything. Yeah. That you dabbled in doing some audio for gaming.
I did. Very little, but yeah, it was fun because I like playing video games myself, so that was kind of cool. This was many years back out in a studio in San Francisco called DCP. It was a game called Tomba, I believe, and it was pretty cool. Characters come in and they start it's weird because these people come in and do crazy voices that doesn't fit their persona at all, which was very interesting. But then also working with producers who are doing gaming is very different than working with producers who are doing music. You know? So they have a different perspective on things, and they already have the end game of what they're going to be, what they're looking for. So you have to cater to that. So all those, even though it was a short experience, it teaches you another way of working with a producer. Another way of working with a client. That has a different view, a different approach on where you normally.
Absolutely.
If anybody has any questions about, have you ever done Latin music? Yes, I have. Have you done rock? Yeah. Have you done punk rock? Have you done metal? Yes to all of those. So, and it's not that I was trying to do all of it just for sake of doing it. Just opportunities presented themselves, and I took them. Yeah. And because of that, I had that experience. But the video game thing, I wish I would have had more. Given that I am a fan of video games and I play them possibly too much.
Sure.
But yeah, that was a cool experience too.
Yeah, I bet it was fun. Let me ask you, we're in a country that's oddly proud of being monolingual, and which is strange. If you lived in Britain, you'd probably know French, or maybe even German, and even potentially Spanish, and vice versa. Spanish people tend to know French and English. Has being bilingual helped you in your career? I
think it's helped me once I have the gig.
Sure.
When I get that way.
Yeah.
But it's helped because there's times, mostly when I'm traveling in Latin countries, that perhaps, all the local crew doesn't speak English at all. And maybe our crew doesn't speak Spanish, and I happen to speak Spanish, then I can literally help them out.
You're the bridge.
I'm the bridge between them.
Sure.
So it's very helpful in situations like that, or advancing shows. When we're going with Smash Mouth or whoever we're going to Latin America, and I'm advancing shows, and you hear the promoter or the production manager trying to do it all in English. I'm like, don't worry about it. We can do this in Spanish. I'm like, really? Oh man, it's so much easier now. We can discuss the writer.
It's got to be a huge advantage.
It's a huge advantage
Sure.
in that sense for sure. You know,
Right.
I think it's. I think it's. I wish I knew more languages. I mean, when I go to Brazil, I can pick it up very quickly, kind of.
Portuguese.
Portuguese, but. Anything else? I wish I spoke more languages. You know,
And Portuguese is kind of a bastardized Italian Spanish thing.
It kind of sounds like that. Yeah, but it's a beautiful language.
Oh, it is.
Man.
It's
The way
lovely. They're lovely people. Yeah.
And it's I love the fact that when we go to other countries, a lot of places they do speak English and many other languages.
It's an international language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wish
We go through Quebec there's just. And there were opportunities when you're young, but I came up in the punk rock scene, and paying attention in school wasn't really high on the list. So, when it came to the language courses, I routinely did not do well. Let's move on. So I know you've worked with Sugar Ray. I have myself. I'm still a little affected by it. How was your interaction with Sugar Ray and Mark McGrath?
It was mostly, we did a show in Manila that part of that actually was David, their guy, wasn't able to make it because of something that happened. He missed his flight or something. We were going to the Philippines.
Okay.
So that was one instance where I stepped in to do the front of house and then when we did that other VH1 thing that I was telling you with Jim Blossoms,
right.
They were part of it too because they were all part of this '90s tour that they were doing.
That's right.
So while we were doing that tour, there were many times where we would step in and help each other out when someone will like, oh, I can't make it because of this. I gotta go, and someone will step in and help you and fill in for you.
Sure.
So I was able to do it a few times for them, and then Mark McGrath also does some solo stuff.
Yes,
as
he
well,
does.
where he does corporate events and things like that.
That's right.
So then I was able to do that with them, with a San Francisco band actually, which, if I'm not mistaken, it was. Notorious, maybe, that will be like the house band, and then they will have Mark McGrath, and they will have Steve Harwell from Smash Mouth. Like they will always do that. And they did that with Dee Snider, and they will do that with Lou Gramm from Foreigner.
Sure.
So they will do several things like that where they had a house band and they had this many great singers, and I got the opportunity to do that for them several times.
Lou Gramm is a hell of a singer. I always enjoyed him. He would have belted.
Still, like he was like
great voice.
This was a few years back, but. I remember at the time we were all hearing that he was ill or whatever.
That's right.
He will walk in, and if you close your eyes and not watch, it was just like the record.
Spot on.
Like
he was
I don't
a true
know.
pro. He was a real pro.
And Dee Snider too. He has such a powerful voice. I had no idea. Like we heard the records of course and stuff, but live he was just like
On it.
On fire, and he even did a Highway to Hell as a cover.
Yeah.
And it was perfect. And he just has that rock and roll voice.
Back in the day before Twisted Sister was Twisted Sister as we know them, all colorful up and the hair and everything, when they had that shtick, but it was pre-fame. They would put on these shows that would just rip the place apart. That was so not what you think of the modern Twisted Sister when you kind of associate Twisted Sister and we're not going to take it thing. Man, they would just, I don't even know how to explain it. It was almost punk rock and the attitude, and it was a really well established thing. Their live show was notorious, like a must see, that they would just come and kick ass. But Sugar Ray also was kind of two bands in my mind. The original Eliminated Brownies album was this amazing amalgam of kind of rhythm and blues, a little bit of a rap beat with this crazy hard rock. And they had songs like Green Machine. I loved that version of them. And they kind of slowly went over into the more commercial poppy thing, which is where they found success. Yeah. And
I remember even on the album where Fly was there. Yeah. Even the rest was like punk rock still.
Yeah.
But they had that one or two singles that were just super poppy and pretty. Yeah. But what they did, what they had to do is
they could turn on a dime and all of a sudden be blowing your mind.
And the live show is super entertaining.
And he's a hell of an entertainer. He's a natural, and now he's doing the talk show bit and that whole thing.
He's doing the radio show thing, and he's great at it. He's just very charismatic,
That's right. Yeah,
very charismatic.
and he's kind of a looker, you know. He's kind of got the package, you know.
Yeah.
I know you did the Carson Daly show. I did some stuff back in the days before he was on. This is NBC, right?
Yeah.
I did some stuff with him back when MTV in New York. Tell me about that?
That was also. I don't know if somehow it got mixed in there, but that was all part of with Smash Mouth too. We did a house band 1 week where we were his house band.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and it was pretty interesting because again, that was actually, man, that was many years ago. It was probably one of the first big TV things that I was part of with the band. But it was at the time where they weren't even, you know, the house engineers will be a little more protective about the final product. So even if you come in with an artist, you were not allowed to touch the board. You know, it was more like,
wow,
you know, you tell us what your artist wants and we'll go, you know, and we'll do it.
Yeah.
But that's not the same. Some artists don't like that or don't go for it. They want that trust that you're there. You know?
That's right.
So yeah, but it worked out, and we were there for a week, and we were the house band, and then at the end, we actually played the performance as part of the music guests.
Sure.
So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it sounds really special.
Yeah, and they have a history. I think somehow, I don't want to use the word discover, but Carson Daly was the one who played Smash Mouth, I think, for the first time, and
on MTV days.
Is it K-Rock in LA?
Oh, like, KROQ.
Okay, yeah, I think he played it for the first time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So there's that connection. They were friends here somewhere. So
right on. Yeah.
So I think that's the connection that they have, and it kind of.
For a long time, Carson Daly had his finger on the pulse. You know, I think he's kind of went into the morning show game, and you know, he's kind of transitioned into the.
He's also another guy. I mean, he's doing The Voice, or he was doing The Voice, and he's also very charismatic. And he's, you know, need to be on these TV shows. You know.
Sure.
I haven't done. That's something that I would love to do. Be like a music mixer for TV only. That would be a good gig for when I want to stop touring,
wouldn't it?
It sounds like it, but I've seen these guys. They have some deadlines, man. Like when they're there, it's like it's pressure.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff, even if they get to mix it after, it's after about minutes after, and they have to turn it in because they have to go to New York.
To New York, exactly.
So it's not. You would think it's cake. It is, but there's pressure. You know, executives always going in and out.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
But I like that. I like that pressure, and I think I could handle it. And I think. And because I have the studio background, mixing studio stuff, I feel that I can contribute to that. Like I think I could. I did that was a recording credit that we did a live show here in the Shoreline.
Great view venue.
Yeah, it was one of those the Download Festival, perhaps. Yeah, and I was.
They were trying to capture a live recording out of the Shoreline to make public.
Yeah. Well,
it's a rough room to get the sound.
I'm sure they were doing
quality.
it. They were going to compile it with many other shows and make one out of it.
Yeah.
But this was one capture that I got hired to do, which was pretty cool, you know. And it was a long day festival, but my role was strictly just to record them, and I mixed monitors for everybody else before them.
Wow.
So it was pretty interesting.
A lot of fun, I bet.
Yeah, and
long day.
Long day. Robert Smith was when the other bands were playing. Robert Smith standing here next to me, and I'm like thinking, man, that's Robert Smith, man. I grew up with that guy.
Yeah, standing on the beach.
And I used to not, I used to always be that guy, don't ask for anything, don't. And I still am in certain situations.
Yeah.
But I kind of now I feel like, you know what, if the opportunity presents itself and if it's the proper timing, why not ask?
Are you talking about fanboying?
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh, boy.
A little bit.
Yeah, but
I normally never do it.
Yeah, me either.
And I didn't do it that day, but I regret it. It's my point.
Huh?
My point is that I regret not saying, hey, can we take a quick picture? He was standing with me basically while the whole band was playing there, just hanging out. It was super hot, and he was full on makeup and everything.
Yeah. We did a show with him at Spartan Stadium. It was, I forget what the album it was he was supporting, but Dinosaur Jr. had opened up, and they sounded like I don't know, a cat being murdered, and then it was rough, and you know, Jay Marquez was out there just losing his mind, and then up come The Cure, and I swear to friggin' Christ, I had to go stage right and make sure that they weren't somehow cheating. It sounded like an album. It was, and this is at the Spartan Stadium. This is outdoor, you know, wide open, really hard place to make work, and it was priceless. I mean, they really When they bring it,
I
they
forget
bring
his
it.
name, but he's a great engineer.
Yeah, it's a really, really great crew and a solid band and a lot of fun. And like you said, they're kind of the soundtrack to our young lives, in many
Yeah.
ways, for many.
I mean,
ways.
I wish I would have worked with him for many other days, but that was just another one-off, another one of those cool one-offs that
Yeah.
I treasure. One of those things. But
Nice
from the
to have
same
on the
area,
resume.
I'm sorry.
Nice to have on the resume.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. When I actually send a resume, I don't put them, but I have it on my website as something that I've done. But I don't put that on my official resume per se because I didn't. It wasn't long term.
Sure, I got you.
But they're from the same era as Tear for Fears, and which I love,
Exactly.
and that was a great actually. That was cool.
Hey, stop it! You're jumping ahead.
Oh, sorry.
You're jumping. What the hell?
Sorry.
I know you worked with the Latin Grammys. What's that about? Was that just going in with
Same thing.
Enrique?
Enrique,
Yeah.
Enrique, Pitbull. I think we did what was the other one we did? It was Enrique with India, and that was also a Latin Grammy performance. And that's crazy because you also that particular show. I remember you don't even have contact almost with your artist. You're like monitor board is not even remotely close to anywhere that it needs to be.
Sure.
You don't even have visual contact. You don't.
You're doing it through a screen.
Not even. Well, yeah. I always have screens actually in our shows. I have a multi-view.
Yeah.
But it's more like you tell sometimes someone tells someone that makes it all the way down to the stage, and then they tell them, "How you doing? Is anything else missing?" They ask the artist because it's actually the most convenient way to doing it. Because if you actually if I'm trying to make my way all the way down there, they waste too much time. Everything's just like
it's all
happening
on
so
comms.
quick. Everything's on comm.
Yeah, of course. No,
I mean, that's like I said, most of the TV experience that I've been able to have has been through the artists that I work with.
Sure.
And we do all the European shows and the MTV Awards in Europe and
right.
All the talk shows in Europe and all that stuff. So
Well, another thing that just popped into my mind on the cards, I know you've traveled. That's my favorite part of the job.
Yeah.
Is you've traveled quite a bit around this planet. What's your favorite region?
I love
It's mind-boggling, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's just you
beautiful.
look at it and you're like, how did they get that dome to stay up there?
Yes.
And then 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
It's
and then
friggin'
there's
crazy.
another city called Ephesus that
Ephesus.
Ephesus, yeah. That you can see the different cultures there that are like
Roman,
the
Holy
Greek,
Roman
the
Empire.
Arabs.
That's right.
Like
it's all there.
everything's all there as you walking around the
That's right.
ruins.
It's a
you
freaking
see all the
history
difference.
class.
It's
Yeah.
pretty interesting.
Yeah, no,
and
it's amazing.
I would say Turkey.
When you go out on the road with these bands, do you work for a sound image or a certain company? Or
I've been
do
a
you work
freelancer
directly?
all my life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I guess is kind of cool in a way, but I don't know. I mean, like that was just the path that I chose that worked out for me. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if it delayed anything. I don't know if because for me it was just a natural path to do. Freelancer.
Yeah, but I know the last time we saw you, you were down at the headquarters in San Diego, prepping up your
For
tour
Enrique,
for
yeah.
Enrique Iglesias, right? So he'll work out of shops, but it will usually be the shop gets the tour, and then he goes to whoever that shop is.
Yeah, we've been with Sound
builds a
Image
tour.
as our preferred vendor for a few years now.
Yeah.
And it's been great. Ever since we switched, it's been great. So we're always very grateful with them and Spagoo and everybody in the shop.
Mikey Spurgeon, sure. Yeah, no, it's our pleasure. That's the
and
name of the
Dave,
game.
of course, and everybody's always been really good to us. So it makes our tours just go smoothly and everything, And we're already in the preparation and the talks and
It's
just
all in and blocked off in the big room
Yeah,
down there.
probably.
And it's just like,
Just
do
waiting.
not touch Enrique
I've seen
Iglesias.
it. Yeah, you got your
He
own
was down
bay,
there
man.
recently.
Yeah, it's a pretty
Yeah.
cool rig, and like I mentioned before, this stuff like video is very useful to me because sometimes the stages are so large and the shows so demanding in certain ways that I don't have a visual with my artists. So having a multi-view screen, I have all the camera shots of my artists. I can see just by facial expressions if something's happening or if anything's wrong or whatever portion, but working together with someone from video to help you and make sure you have the screen and very helpful for me.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't. Visual cues for us sometimes can be extraordinarily helpful. But of
Exactly.
course, the comm is irreplaceable. You always got to have your comm.
Yeah, I mean we're in constant communication via talkback. There's talkbacks all throughout the stage. So if at any moment anybody needs anything, we can just communicate that way.
Sure. We
I can
got some
communicate with
questions.
everybody individually. So.
Well, he says that the people from the outside world. Who is
Oh
this?
wow.
Yeah, so we got Steve Orgain.
That's our fabulous friend from Chef's Touch.
Was Eddie with Smash Mouth for a Coca-Cola promo in Sacramento? If you don't know, you don't go.
When was this?
I don't know. We'll give Steve a chance to rebuttal. Charlie asks, Eddie, what do you feel like is the biggest challenge mixing?
I will say in this case, or mixing monitors, is letting go of your own thing, because we're mixing for someone else. It's a job of service. A lot of times what you feel is better, it's not better for the person performing. It's what they want to get, what they need to perform.
That's correct.
There's singers who only want the click track and the guitar and maybe a little bit of the keyboards, and that's it. And you're like, but that's sound right. Like, what? Why would? That's what they need, and they're happy.
Yeah, that's right.
Others like sort of a record mix. Like with Gwen, she gets a full mix with delays and everything. And if you were to sit next to me and I'm constantly mixing, it's like tons of cues throughout the song, and then I have snapshots on top of that.
Sure.
Then that makes her mix sound more balanced, and she likes it and she's happy. If she's singing really soft or Enrique's singing really soft, you bump him up right on that part. When they start singing back to normal, you're moving.
Totally
you can't just set it and forget it. So I would say the most challenging thing is to get out of your own head and just make sure that you think of it as a service to the artist, to make sure you're mixing for them and to what makes them comfortable to be able to give a good show to the audience.
Fantastic. No, that makes perfect sense. I wanted to ask you about the Kings of Chaos, the supergroup. Tell us about it. That was a project you were on. Now,
Yes.
Explain to the audience who the Kings of Chaos are.
That was Kings of Chaos. It's basically, how can I put this? Guns N' Roses without Axl, and then Dave Kushner is in there as well, which means it's Velvet Revolver without Scott Weiland.
Yeah.
So that already is two super bands, technically speaking.
Yeah.
And then they have guest singers. So they had Gillian Hughes from Deep Purple. They had Joe Elliott from
Def
Leppard. They had Ed Roland from Collective Soul and Miles Kennedy from Alter Bridge.
Yeah, Miles Kennedy. He's always finding his way into people's bands.
So it's just an amazing band. And of course, what do? They play their hits.
They play the bands that they've been in hits in there. Yes, I know they kill it.
And a few others, like they did a David Bowie cover.
Sure.
But of course, they did some Guns N' Roses hits. They did Def Leppard hits, and so on. And then I did production manager for them and front of house. And I was with Matt Sorum, drummer. I was able to get a little bit involved with the creative side because as I was handling the production, we were discussing, walking on stage and how we're going to do this and that, and we were like, we should have an intro, and it's the Kings of Chaos, let's make it regal, and blah blah blah,
Right.
So he because he's a great musician, not just a drummer, he came up with some cool intros, and we put it together, and then I spoke to the lighting team and video content people, and this was a South African tour that we did, and back and forth with the content and pyro, where we're going to trigger this. So I got to be part of the creative side, which was pretty interesting. It was pretty
a lot of
exciting. Of course, you have to keep in mind that I'm a child of the 80s, so I grew up with these guys when Appetite for Destruction came out. It was like, and I'm in Peru still, and this is like, oh my God,
Yeah.
So, and then I get to work with them. I get to hang out with Slash and Duff, and it was very exciting and very great to mix. I mean, it was very cool. I mean, I don't know, one of those once in a lifetime, because that band varies every time.
Oh yeah.
The version before that was, I think, Steve Stevens and
Billy Idol's guitarist.
Yes,
and badass guitarist.
And the singer for Skid Row.
Sure, Sebastian Bach.
Sebastian Bach.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they always had different versions of the band, but I think Matt Sorum was always there, and because he was the leader driving that.
I
And
spent time with him with the Colt.
Yeah.
He was a hell of a drummer in the
he's a
Colt.
great drummer, man.
Fun
His
guy.
timing is insane.
Yeah. He
One of
likes-
the best rock drummers for
Yeah,
me.
super good rock
Yeah,
drummer.
so that was definitely a highlight, I guess, in my career, and that I love. I treasure that one, that experience.
Yeah, you're
quite a
very
bit.
lucky. 'Cause
Very.
That was
Especially that lineup.
Yeah, exactly, and that particular lineup and that
Yeah.
particular time. Yeah.
Because then they changed it. The next one was Steven Tyler, which would have been awesome. Steven Tyler and Nuno Betancourt, I think, and
Nina Betancourt, yeah.
yeah, Nuno, and then
Uh-huh.
a couple other guys. I don't remember, to be honest. So it changed, and I just feel that I got lucky that I had I feel that it was the best lineup. No offense to any of the other lineups. I just feel that was one of the best ones. You know?
You rolled in at the right time, it sounds
Yes,
like to me.
that's basically timing. You know.
Oh,
Yeah.
Steve got back to you. He
What are you saying? What's Steve
said
up
maybe
to?
2000 Sacramento Civic.
No, I started with Smash Mouth in 2005.
So Steve is a god. He's actually booked to be on this show. He's the caterer I was mentioning. He's worked
Oh,
for
nice.
worked for everybody. Bill Graham. I mean, the stories he's got are ridiculous, and he makes amazing food, and he's a sweetheart of a guy. He's coming in to tell us about that whole lane of rock and roll, and that'll be
he's gonna
fun.
have stories forever.
Oh, dude, seriously, sitting around the table, yeah, he gets it.
Clint chimed in again. He asked, "How did you like working the Latin Grammys with Chichi Alara?"
Well, Chechi Lara was the MD for the actual
Yeah.
Latin Grammys. I didn't have to interact with him because I was there with Enrique only, you know.
Gotcha.
So and Chechi wasn't participant of the arrangements and stuff that we did for Enrique. It was just
He had
just
other
Enrique.
duties.
Correct.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
perfect sense. We want to say hi to Clint, by the way. Clint from Crew Music Asia. How you doing, Clint, baby? Great to see you. And Mr. Bianca, our guest from last week, is absolutely wonderful. How'd you like working with Lost Lonely Boys? They're great band.
Yeah, I was telling actually George earlier. My brother, being also a producer, a musician,
Yeah.
he executive produced an album that was Creedence songs done by Latin rock artists.
Cool. Like Manar and
I
stuff
heard-
like
Yeah,
that.
they did they got Juan Gabriel, they got Enanitos Verdes, they got a bunch, anyway, just a bunch of them. Los Lonely Boys was one of them.
Yeah.
And then they actually came to record it here at Fantasy Studios.
No kidding.
And at that point, I was traveling a lot and everything. And then he goes, "Hey, look, I have this song that Los Lonely Boys just recorded. It's Born in the Bayou. Can you mix it?" I'm like, "Sure, I would love to." So, I did my first draft of it as I was traveling, and then I came and finished it at my house, in the studio at my house. And
That album was incredible.
yeah, the CCR one.
Yeah.
Did you like it?
I loved it, yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty cool because everybody had their own interpretation of
That's right.
these really cool songs.
Classic songs.
Well, and it
Very
had the
classic
glue
song.
of the room
Yeah.
too. Since it was done at Fantasy, you could hear all of the
Fantasy's a
the
special place.
the echo chamber. You
Yeah,
could
yeah.
hear the
Yeah.
stereotypical room that you were in. It was awesome.
Yeah, so I got the opportunity to mix that song for them, and their feedback was that they liked the mix. We did, I think, one maybe two very minor revisions, and it was done. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah,
They were
those
pretty-
guys were a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
And
Yeah.
ironically too, with Smash Mouth, we've done lots of festivals with them. I
Yeah.
mean, we've been on the same stage with them, but as far as doing a project for them, that was the one that was CCR. The CCR that was a studio project.
Well, so it had to be a lot of fun. You got, it's a tricky question. You got a favorite memory of the many years that you've been in this business? One moment that just jumps out to you like, God, that was special. Like you were mentioning fanboying a little bit with Robert Smith. As close as I ever got was I had a moment with Greg Allman, who's 6'5" and got hair down to here and in a trench coat, and I for a minute I got a little nervous, and I've hung out with hundreds of rock stars, but that one,
I will say,
he
to
tripped
be
me out
honest,
a little bit.
After working with Enrique and Christine and Gwen, which I'm a fan of them for sure, and I love them. And
Great artists.
And I continue to work with them, and it's great. The one thing that has been special for me was Tear for Fears, because
That's so good.
their production, because again, having a studio background myself, even though I was going to mix monitors for them, I was mixing monitors for them, my goal was to make it be like like the record, like all the effects, delays,
And I bet you know those records.
reverbs on the
Yeah.
snare, and
Oh yeah.
get all that for them, and with their vocal right on top, so they can perform and be happy about it. And it was very gratifying. And they were, not that it's a surprise because I guess people are people, but they were so nice. They were such nice people.
Yeah.
And their music was so amazing that I think I hold that as probably one of the best memories in the career, because it's, I don't know, it's one of those things.
Production. I mean, it is an incredibly.
Yeah.
It's so dense and so
Yes.
well realized,
Yes.
and there's some brilliance in there. There's actual genius moments in that.
Yeah,
album.
and it has this
And they
nostalgic feeling
They
too. It's
just wow,
Yeah.
and then they would bring it, and they could do it live.
Yes.
And they could do it live, especially with the help of guys like you, making it all come to fruition. Yeah, they're special guys, and I could see how that'd be one of your favorite moments.
Yeah, and I wanted to mix, because I'm a front of house engineer by heart, because that's what I've always done mostly. Most of my last, high profile clients have been monitors, but I was asked to do first from the house and for them. And I was like, great, this is gonna be awesome. I'm programming my offline thing, and I'm like getting ready and just listening to the music and making notes. And then I get the call saying, oh, after all, no. Because it was a situation where front house was leaving, I was gonna come in, and then that other gig fell through. He came back and said, hey, do you mind if we go back? We restore. I'm like, sure, dude, no problem. A day later, he goes, we actually need someone monitors. Are you interested in monitors? I'm like, yes, I am. So I just had to turn everything around and apply it to be for monitors.
Sure. Rewrite your file.
But I mean, again, the goal was to replicate those records, for who, at least present it that way. And if they didn't want all the bells and whistles, then I would tone it down. But
yeah.
But they really seemed to enjoy the mixes. And then in the future, I was asked to do more and more, and I just wasn't available. But I did like a good year or so with them, and it was great. We did South America, Asia.
Yeah, they kill it.
Great.
Their live show is
all
impressive.
the U.S. tours, they're so good.
Yeah, they're
so good.
really great. Let me ask you, we're going to wrap up, but do you have any advice? I mean, again, you've been doing this for a minute. You ain't new to this, and you've seen the whole world, and you've toured with some of the biggest pop acts in it. You got any advice for the youngsters out there coming up in this crazy time in this business? This is kind of another take on a question we ask frequently, what the future holds, but maybe it's better to say, what do you think that some of the people in the audience that might be watching might need to do to keep their passion alive and the hope that they'll be out there doing the stuff that we've done?
I will say something I mentioned earlier that is pretty important too is don't stop asking. If you don't know something, ask.
Yeah.
I strongly believe on ethics too. Like,
oh boy.
Don't try to mislead artists. Don't try to mislead when it comes to the business side. Just try to always be honest, be ethical, be it on time. Learn. Don't think you know it all. You're gonna learn something from even someone who maybe has a less extensive career than you. You're gonna learn something. Someone who's just starting out might have a different way of getting to this point, and you're gonna go, "Oh wow, I didn't think of that. Like that's
right.
brilliant.
Let
me try it." And then you try it, and you accommodate it to your own way.
Mm-hmm.
But you learn it from someone who hasn't been doing it as long. Never feel that just because you've been doing it longer, you know it all, which is not true. Every day I'm learning something, and I mean every day, not just on audio-wise, but now that we've been doing all this, we're stuck at home. I've been learning about video and streaming, which is a whole other headache, but I've learned a lot because of it.
Sure.
So that'll be my advice. Just constantly keep learning. Not to put ourselves at that level, but you know how doctors have to keep always learning what the new
Well, that's
things
why
are.
it's called practicing medicine.
Correct. Exactly.
They're
practice
working
on us,
it out still.
but yeah, I mean, I apply that same philosophy. Just constantly keep learning. Always, don't make assumptions. Just try. If you have an issue, just ask.
It's great advice.
Like I said, most people will tell you.
Yeah, no,
this is how you do it.
It's great advice. There's nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Yes.
And in this business, with it constantly evolving, the technology constantly evolving, and it helps to just be brave and step up
Yeah,
to the
and
guys
it's
that are
doable.
doing
And
it.
don't take no for an answer too. I'm actually, that's just my personality. I'm very stubborn and I'm very persistent.
Yeah.
You know, you're gonna get a lot of no's. I used to call, you know, Slims and
Sure.
Burger Square, whatever
Making
club
the
was.
rounds. That's
Hey,
right.
you know, but I just kept calling and calling and calling, and little by little, just, you know.
And look at you now, seriously. I mean, you've toured the world. You've worked with some of the greatest artists. Yeah, that it's tenacity is
And
a
I'm not
huge
done. The
part.
sky's the limit still.
That's right, baby.
Still
Absolutely
growing. You
right.
know?
Such a nice guy. It'd be an honor to go out on the road with you at some point.
Yes.
Oh my God!
That
Thank
ever
you, man.
came
That
up.
means a lot to me.
Well, let's try to find a
do
show
it.
when this thing called swings back around, and something we can put you guys together, because this little brainiac right here, between your badassness and this kid, these kids nowadays, some of them are pretty sharp. And I have him training some of our the other youngsters and some of our old pros on some of the more modern equipment that we run. And yeah, he's sharp as a tack. I really thank you for coming out here. Seriously,
Thank
Eddie,
you.
it's an honor to have you on the show. It's really a pleasure. Thank you for sharing your memories with us. And you know, we wish you continued success, and we hope to see you out there on the road, my brother.
Man, thank you guys for having me here. It's been a pleasure, and you know, hopefully I'll see you soon.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks, man.
Hey guys, we really appreciate you coming out here. It looks like we've had quite a bit of, I like this, the interaction on the comment section. Tony Balancalana, my good friend Clint, look at Clint from Crew Music Asia. And hey Pat, we're sending out a box to you, buddy. Clint, we're sending out some swag to you.
We just packed it up. It's coming.
Yeah, Cher Campbell is getting a box. We were waiting to get all this stuff together. And let's see, there was 4 boxes. Who was and then Patrick O'Rourke.
Yep.
Yeah, he's
Patrick
getting a
O'Rourke.
box too. They're all over on the table labeled. Everybody's got to drop them off at the post office tomorrow. Thank you for being our core crew. We really appreciate you guys. Charlie Zaricki's a badass brother and a half. And oh, by the way, anybody wants a pocket reference, we'll send something out to you. We do this thing every week at 7 on Thursdays, right? Is it 7 on Thursdays?
Oh my God, your old man
I
is
know.
kicking in.
I'm just, I don't know, you know. I
It's
should have
Thursdays,
wrote it down
7
somewhere.
o'clock.
Is that what it is? Okay. All right. But we couldn't do it without the help and the partnerships we formed with our good people and friends at Sound Image Productions and my brother, General Manager George Edwards. Thank you, my brother.
Thanks, George. Yeah, actually, he chimed in today.
Did he?
When
Lieutenant
he
was
was
on?
talking, and he said, EAW swag is on its way. It's en route.
See, as it should be. Thank you to George Edwards and Jim Newhouse, the CEO of EAW. He's a brother, and we love the guy, and so that's not surprising. Right on. And by the way, a shout out to the captain, the captain, my captain, Dave Shadone of Southern California Sound Image. Really, without him, man, we're sunk. We got nothing. So thank you, Dave. You're the man. You're the boss, and
Thanks,
we,
Dave.
bow before you. Also to our good friends over at LSV. This is John Rigney's house. In loving memory of John Rigney. He passed recently. He shared this vision with us. He gave us access to large screen video. We really couldn't do it without you guys, and our heart's still, beating for you. We're here anytime you need us. And the good people over at Slow Fiber, they help us out with the social distancing, and they make our masks into the custom masks so our people in our other shops can, do work and feel like they can operate safely with their little Sound Image brand on the front. We love them, I swear. The front of these masks are actually made with grill cover. We were kind of keeping in this.
So well,
yeah,
though.
right.
She has a way of making those that fit my face.
The people at
perfect.
Sound at Slow Fiber really do it right. They're great people, and we really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And of course, I couldn't do without my LD Alan Pettibone. He makes the lights come on so we can see this. And thank you, LD.
Thanks, Al.
Lampy man. He's the guy. And of course,
Number one moth.
Yeah. We just play with you, Al. You know we love you, baby. And then, of course, Mike Brown. Really, I just get up and bow to Mr. Mike Brown because he really carries this whole thing. He's throwing in the slides. He's doing the audio. He's doing everything but the lights. And so thank you, Mike Brown. You are...
He's got, I know he has long hair, but he's got another set of eyes in the back.
I don't know how he does it, man. Like we said, we call him the octopus because he's like
spins
down.
around
He's on
and-
the RF. He's switching over here. He's dialing in the audio. Just a fucking badass. Thank you, Mr. Brown. You are the best, and that's why he's the director and executive producer, co-executive producer.
That's right.
Yes, and of
Just
course
the best.
my good friend and cohort in Kyle Thomas.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for dealing with me.
No, you've been a little grumpy this week, but I've been way grumpier. Remember, I woke up yesterday and I was,
I know.
I think it was going to like tear
You
down
don't have
some
to
buildings.
tell the audience.
No, they know I have a grumpy side. I think we had somebody roll up and immediately think like, yeah, what's wrong? What did I do? I was like, you showed up. Yeah.
It was a weird day. That red sky really threw us all for a loop.
The whole shot was bent out of shape yesterday. I don't know what it was, but it's just like some cosmic thing. I don't know. Nobody died. Nobody died. I can say that much. We're all
knives
still.
got moved from your desk.
Yeah. They were. I was confidently had my shit temporarily confiscated for fear of injuring somebody. Regardless, listen. We do this every week. We do it for you. Keep your chins up. It's a tough time, but keep your chins up, man. We're gonna be back. They need us. We need them. We love doing this. What else would we do, anyways? Take care of each other. Be well. Please come and see us again next Thursday at 7 p.m. It will be Bob Powers. This guy is one of the top riggers in rock and roll. I mean, to you, if go to the record store and there's a band in there that's Metallica rolling, he rigged it. He rigged those shows, and he's going to come in here. He's going to talk about it, and he's going to tell us stories. Come back next week. We'll see you then. Until then, take very good care of yourselves. Good night.